I'm not too sure what all of that was, but it shouldn't impact your enjoyment of the runs because, yeah, the runs will still be good. We are hopping right into our Spyro block. I'm Helix. I'll be hosting for the rest of the marathon. But without any further ado, let's get into it. I'm here with SableDragonRook.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry for the little slip there. Y'all might have got a Best Buy ad because, you know, shop at Best Buy, I guess. But this is Spyro 80 Dragons. So let's just hop right into it, right? Timing will start when I hit this input, so I'll give you a countdown here. We're going to start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. So hi everyone! Thanks for joining for Spyro 80 Dragons. I am SableDragonRook. You can call me Sable. Up in the top left-hand corner here we have Morty. He's my blue tongue skink. He's always my stream cam, so he will be joining us for this run. And, you know, we'll talk quite a lot more, obviously, about the things that we're trying to accomplish in this run, but for now, just as we get going, it's called 80 Dragons. We're going to be trying to get 80 dragons. So we're just going to be zipping from dragon to dragon. This is the PS4 remaster of Spyro the Dragon from PS1. So if you have never played, you know, Spyro the Dragon at all, this is a great entry point. This game feels amazing. I highly recommend it. So we are hopping into these levels, you know, as I said before, to get 80 dragons. There are 80 dragons in the game, so that's going to be all of them. And you can also see, as we're going through these levels, that we've got a couple other things that we're supposed to be paying attention to, right? We've got gems lying on the ground. You can't see them quite yet, but we've also got some dragon eggs. You know, we have these dragons. This is a collect-a-thon type game, so obviously, you know, we're going to have a lot of these types of things that we can gather up. In most speedruns of this game, you're going to be picking those up because that's what you're supposed to do. But this is a glitched category, so actually, where most of the runs of Spyro are going to require that we get gems, we are going to need 0 gems for this run because we're going to kind of go out of bounds and do some stuff we're not really supposed to do. But we'll talk about that a little bit closer to when that glitch actually happens. Yeah, the load times can be a little bit brutal here with Spyro, and I am actually running on a PS4 Pro with an SSD, so these are the shortest load times that you're gonna see, and they're still a little bit long. I think they're actually a little bit better on PC, so if that interests you and you'd like to run Spyro, PC is a great alternative as well. So we've got our little purple dragon here, right? And we're trying to save these dragons throughout the world. So that means that we're going to try to take the fastest route between dragons whenever we can, because this is a speedrun. And we've got one trick in this level, Town Square, where a fairy is going to appear after we free a dragon. And for some reason, just this particular fairy will leave a hitbox in midair when she appears. If we stand in just the right spot, we'll be able to stand in midair and hop over this big wall that normally we wouldn't be able to get over. So there we go. That saves us from having to run around the whole outside of the level. It's kind of a long trek doing this the intended way. And because that dragon's name is Nils, that trick is called the Nils proxy. So you might occasionally notice a little bit of a difference in how I'm exiting levels. That time I exited via the guidebook. This upcoming level I'm going to exit via a portal. And for most levels I'm going to exit via the start menu. So there is actually a difference among all of those. The reason that we are going to leave this level by going through a portal is because the world boss Toasty will not open until you leave at least one world through a return home portal. There happens to be a dragon right in front of this one, So, you know, that's the one that we're going to choose to go through. In the previous level, I left via the guidebook because that takes you to the middle of the home world, which is closer to this portal that we wanted to go to. But the majority of the time when I exit the level, I'm just going to choose to do it via the start menu, and that's going to pop me out right in front of the portal that I entered. There's everybody's greatest nemesis. So if you've never played Spyro before, there are probably a couple things that you're a little bit unfamiliar with, right? You know, we have these gems and they're different colors. The different colors stand for different values. Red are the lowest value, those are just 1. And then you have green at 2, blue at 5, yellow at 10, and the elusive purple at 25. Those don't particularly matter for 80 dragons, because like I said, we're not going to need these gems. But those are the differences in all those gems that are lying around. And you'll also see that we have Sparks, who's this little, currently yellow, dragonfly that's following me around. He eats butterflies, you can see that I just popped a butterfly there from that sheep. If I get hit, he'll take damage for me. He's basically my health bar. So if I get hit once, he'll go from yellow to blue, and then from blue to green, and then from green to nothing. He'll disappear. If I get hit when I don't have Sparks, when he's disappeared, I'll lose a life, and then I'll come back again with the yellow Sparks. So there is a little bit of strategy about how we're going to handle Sparks as we go into some of the harder worlds. But that's for later. Here's another exit to the guidebook, just because that's going to take us a little bit closer to where we want to be. And now with 16 dragons, that's all the dragons in this first home world. Let's go talk to the balloonist. This guy's kind of a big deal. Actually, he takes us between worlds, but he only ever does that if we fulfill the things that he wants us to do. They all look the same, but they are actually different balloonists in every world. This balloonist said, hey, I'm not going to take you to the next world until you free 10 dragons. That was easy because we needed to get all the dragons anyway. But later, some balloonists are going to kind of be a little bit of a problem. In this upcoming world, Peacekeepers, he's going to say, hey, I'm not going to take you to the next world until you get 1,200 gems. And much later, someone else is going to be like, hey, you need to get 6,000 gems before I'll take you anywhere. That's going to take a lot of time. So that's why we do this out of bounds trick that's going to be coming up, because it will actually let us skip those requirements. And that's why we don't need gems. We're going to be skipping both of the balloonists that require that we collect gems. Morty is out and about, I see. He might occasionally duck off camera. I'm kind of multitasking and doing a speed run and controlling his camera at the same time. So he might occasionally be out for a minute. I'll catch up to him. His real name is Artorias, by the way, but he's basically a sausage with legs. So I thought something more like Morty would suit him. He's a little too derpy for a cool name like Artorias. For the sake of the marathon, we're going to pick up this extra life. We're going to be burning a couple lives to do these glitches, and should anything go wrong, I'd rather not game over. It's not a big deal if I do, but it's no fun. So let's try to avoid that.
Generally, game overing is not conducive to a speedrun, so yeah.
And every level, except for one, we definitely want to be leaving when it says all dragons found. If I ever leave a level and it doesn't say that, oh boy, something has gone very wrong, so hopefully we don't leave any of our friends behind here. We will be leaving some of the dragons in Misty Bog, because this is actually essentially a full game run that doesn't fight the final boss. Nasty Nork himself doesn't have any dragons, so there's no reason to encounter him, which means we're actually just going to end the run in the middle of a random level. And we're going to do that because it's kind of weird shaped, and it's easier to go in twice than it is to backtrack. This is going to be our first encounter with blue egg thieves. These are really speedy guys dressed in blue, and they're carrying little tiny pink dragon eggs. We're going to need 5 of them because one of the balloonists is going to ask for 5 dragon eggs. You can see that sure, don't free that dragon even though I touched him, sure. You can see that I ran into that egg thief while I was going downwards, and that was actually intentional. I'm going to be trying to do that for every egg thief. For some reason, the game thinks that if you have downward momentum when you hit a thief, you don't need to watch their cutscene when they give you the egg. So whenever possible, we're going to be trying to, flame those thieves while we're moving downward. So we'll need those 5 eggs in the next world in order to progress. So we'll just pick up a couple of them now. And as we're zipping through here, don't forget that we're so close to $3,000 for this marathon. So if everybody just donated $1 for their favorite dragon, we would have plenty of money real quick. Let's get to
seriously though, we are super close, but there isn't a ton of marathon left.
I'll be sure to play my favorite dragon later. He is such a handsome boy. They did such a great job with all of the redesign of these dragons. If you ever played the original, there were probably like 5 or 6 dragon models that they used for the entirety of the game. But in this remaster, every single dragon is unique, and they're really detailed, and they're fantastic. They're all, thematic, and they fit the worlds that they're in. There's like a sumo wrestler dragon, and a dragon that likes to knit. All sorts of stuff. It's great. They did such a good job. So Dr. Shampir is this world's boss. Most of the bosses we're not going to see. You can kind of catch a peek at him up there at the top real quick. Because their dragons are in front of them. Because they're bosses and dragons are save points, dragons tend to be in front of the boss. So that means we don't usually have to fight them. We will have to fight Blowhard in the next world. But that will be about it. And now, as I come in to Ice Cavern, explaining this glitch is going to basically take me this entire level to do. So let's get going. You've met the balloonist already, right? He's the one who takes us from world to world. And like I said before, he's like, you need 10 dragons, or 1,200 gems in this case. Whatever, requirement he puts forth before he'll take you to the next place. If you don't meet that requirement, he'll say, hey Spyro, why don't you go do this thing before I let you progress? The problem with that is that even 1,200 gems takes a long time to collect, but especially 6,000 gems takes a long time to collect. So, I am running on version 1.0. This was the disc version that came out in 2018, unpatched, and in this particular version, when a fairy pops up after you free a dragon, as you can see here, she'll pop up in just a second. Hi, Mr. Bat. There she is. If you talk to her, and then do your button inputs just right as you glide away from her but before touching the ground, you will be able to continue to talk to her anywhere. You can go all the way across the map, doesn't matter. You can pull up her text box. And that's great, because the game thinks that when you're talking to a fairy, you are controlling Spyro. Which makes sense, because you know, why wouldn't you be controlling Spyro if you just freed a dragon? This is important, because when I hop into that balloon to go in between worlds, I can't move. Unless I talk to the fairy while I'm in the balloon. Because that will let me gain control of Spyro, and then I'll be able to charge out of the balloon. Why does that matter? Well, because outside of bounds in Peacekeepers, the worlds that we're in, is a developer's tool. Probably for playtesting, or, you know, just kind of doing the stuff they needed to do when they were building the game. They have a balloon that has no requirements. If you go into it and tell it where you want to go, you can go there, even if you don't have the gems or the eggs or whatever. So we're going to try to land in that, and we're going to glitch our way into these worlds without fulfilling the requirements. So the first thing we're going to do is, you know, hop on this platform and try to get what's called fairy storage. That's when we do this thing where we glide away from the fairy and enable ourselves to talk to her anywhere.
Hi, Spyro.
It's a little bit finicky.
Hi, Spyro. Hi, Spyro.
But now you can see I can run over here, nowhere near her, bam, I can still talk to her. So we'll go to this balloonist and he's like, dude, you haven't fulfilled the requirements, what are you doing? So I'm gonna say, okay, take me to the one world that I can go to. Artisans, the world I've already been to. We're gonna hop in the balloon. As I hop in, I'll gain control of Spyro by talking to the fairy, and then charge out. So that little square is the dev balloon. And I did successfully land in it, which is, whew, that's a relief. But we're not done yet. I'm gonna choose to go to Nasty's world. That's the final world of the game. Alright, we're coming in sideways. Awesome. So it's trying to load Artisans and Nasty's world at the same time, which is why it's just freaking out. Because the first balloon is trying to take me to Artisans, and the dev balloon is trying to take me to Nasty's. If I hop in the water here and take a death, it's going to play the intro cutscene for the game, because it's trying to finish up this intro Artisans thing. So now it's finished the bit where it's trying to take me to Artisans, and if we quit the game and come back in, we'll be in Nork's world.
Nasty's ancient history now.
You're in
what's in
Nasty's
there?
world now,
I believe
Spyro.
this is
And you are the
Nasty's
dragon that
treasure
must
hoard.
defeat him.
But the
Bring
gates
him
will only
on.
open
I'm
if you
ready.
have found
Reach
everything
the
in the
exit
Dragon
in
Kingdom.
each of
Come
Nasty's
back
lands.
when you have
Then
reached
you can
100.
You know, I've seen this a couple times, but it still gets me every time.
It's definitely like one of my favorite parts of the run. I always try to hit both of those dragons at the same time because it is just bonkers. So why did that happen? What on earth was going on, right? Well, we came into Nasty's world with 352 gems. We're supposed to come into Nasty's world with 6,000 gems. So the game is checking things out, and it's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing here? I'm not ready for this. And so it doesn't know what to load, because it's not prepared for us to be here. One of those dragons only appears after you defeat the final boss, but since the game can't tell where you are as far as progress, it puts both dragons there. Similarly, the world, or the level that we're in right now is normally behind a closed dragon head, but the world wasn't loaded, that dragon head wasn't loaded, because the assets weren't ready. So we were able to hop into here before the dragon head appeared. And that's also why we have to guidebook out instead of exiting level. If we exited level, we would come out into the closed dragon head because the game is caught up with us now. So you'll see here in a minute. See, this dragon head is now present the way that it should be. And we would have gotten stuck inside a closed dragon head. So we're actually going to do this glitch again. Entering Nork's world required 6,000 gems, but entering Magic Crafters, the world after Peacekeepers, requires 1,200. So we're going to do the same glitch again, except this time we're going to go to Magic Crafters. So we'll tidy up Nork's world first, and then, you know, head back and do that one more time. So we're in Nasty's world, and I hear some of you who have never played Spyro before say, why are the dragons in crystal at all? Right? What happened? Well, the dragons were doing a TV interview, and they called the big bad guy, Nasty Nork, ugly. Which, to be fair, was not a very nice thing to do. And Nasty Nork got really upset by that, and he used his magic staff to turn all of the dragons except for Spyro into crystal. Why he didn't turn Spyro, I'm not sure. Probably just he's tiny. So we're undoing Nasty's handiwork here by freeing all these dragons. That's Nork's world completed. That's supposed to be the final world of the game. So we came back to Ice Cavern for the sole purpose of exiting the level and being right in front of Magnus, that dragon that we got fairy storage off of last time. And we're going to do the exact same thing, except this time we're going to go to a different world.
Hi, Spyro. Hi, Spyro. Hi, Spyro.
Hi, Spyro. 600 times.
Hop on, Spyro.
So again,
Spyro.
we'll
Hi,
talk to the
Spyro.
fairy to gain control of Spyro, charge out of the balloon, and do our best to land in this dev tool, which thankfully is here, because sometimes for reasons it's not. Alright, so this time we're going to go to Magic Crafters, because that requires 1200 gems to enter, and we don't have that. It is very important where I hit that input. I only have a couple frames to tell it which world I want to go to. And if I don't do it right, it'll soft lock. Whether I'm too fast or too slow depends on which soft lock it'll do, but they're all pretty crazy. Sometimes you can, like, see the world boxes. Sometimes you just fall forever. They're all pretty goofy. I see Morty has fallen asleep in his water bowl. And so just like with Nasty's world, Magic Crafters is not going to expect us to be here, so it's not going to have the majority of the world loaded. Enemies, the egg thief that's normally standing right here, treasure chests, like all of that is not going to be here because it's not ready. Thankfully the dragon is still here, because that's all we need. So those are the two main glitches of this run, but we still have a lot of tricks and exploits that are going to get us the rest of the way. That can seem intimidating, but it's not, you know, once you get some practice in with that, you'll be hitting that dev balloon pretty consistently. It's quite a fun run. And it is actually a little bit different on PC. You only have to do that trick once instead of twice, because of how the trick works on PC. On PC, you actually don't get fairy storage. You kind of glide into a wall and then walk through air around the entire map. So it looks completely different, and both of them are pretty cool. So I did let that dragon play a little bit on purpose. Magic Crafters is a world that's all about cycles, and it's important to understand that the speedrun is timed on in-game time, which we can see on the top right of the screen whenever I open the guidebook. You don't really get much of a chance to see it because I'm going so fast, you know, opening the guidebook for like a fraction of a second and then we're done. But there is a timer up there. So we want to do everything that we can to reduce in-game time, even if that costs real time. And so when a dragon is playing, the in-game timer stops, which is great, because the cycles in the level continue. So we can let a dragon play, and let the cycles in the background play, like that wall going up and down, so that when I get to it, it'll be going down, and it'll be favorable for me, without spending any in-game time. So that's why we let those dragons continue on sometimes. Depending on when we get to a couple more cycles later in the game, I might let some other dragons play for the same reason. Just to kind of bring the cycling a little bit better into my favor.
throw in a donation real quick?
Sure thing.
Major Mushu donates $5 and has a rather wholesome message for you and for chat. Had to come in for Sable's run. She really has such an amazing personality. If you aren't following her, you totally should. When she streams, it is the highlight of my day.
Oh, thank you, Mushu.
A very, very wholesome message there.
Well, that just gave me the nice warm fuzzies. I appreciate it. And of course goes to a good cause as well. So, kind of a win-win.
Sure does. And hey, I mean, twitch.tv/SableDragonRook, it's on your screen. Go press that follow button.
Morty is there all the time, so if you're a big fan of Morty, you'll find him there as well. He is really just all about that water bowl today. It looks like he's just got his arm draped over there elegantly. What a drama queen. The Magic Crafters here is the world that we needed those dragon eggs for. Technically, yes, it's true, you could just do the glitch again with the balloonist to skip the dragon egg requirement as well. But in the case of the dragon eggs, they're literally like right in front of your face as you keep going through the run. So, you know, on the one hand, you get them and it's basically the same amount of time you would have spent anyway. And worst case scenario, you try to do the glitch and you either soft lock or you fail and you lose like a minute and a half or whatever. So it's generally considered much better to get the eggs than to try to do that glitch for a third time just because it's so risky. If I'm quick, I should be able to outpace most of the spawns of these enemies. Because again, we don't need gems, so there's really no sense in hitting enemies that we don't need to. I'm gonna opt for a way that is a little bit slower on in-game time, but a lot more fun, realistically. You can see that I didn't quite get enough downward momentum for that thief, and so we had to watch the cutscene. In an ideal run, a world record run, you would do these thieves a little bit differently. You wouldn't go and get that one. You would actually go back to the beginning of Magic Crafters and get the thief that didn't appear when we first hopped into the world. Ooh, speed stairs. Nice. But that puts you in a ton of loading screens. It's just loading screen after loading screen as you teleport. The thief wasn't there. As you teleport from world to world and level to level to get that to work. And that's kind of boring to look at. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of in-game time in order to do it the more fun way. So we've got our 5 dragon eggs. That means that we have what we need to exit this world. That's what the balloonist is going to ask for. And then we just need to hit the dragon in the boss level. We do actually get to fight Blowhard a little bit. Not entirely, but just a little. He's like this air wizard. He'll cast lightning from the sky and shock you if you give him enough time. Hopefully we will not do that. Blowhard is kind of my own personal kryptonite, so I'm happy that I don't have to fight him all the way. I tried to quick cycle that and didn't quite get that platform in time. That's no biggie. I'll just grab it when it comes around this way. I told you Blowhard was my kryptonite. But that's alright. Green sparks is no big deal. But speaking of sparks, it is a little bit important to understand kind of a low-key thing that I've been doing, and you'll see me do it here as well. I'm going to run into one of these goats
How would you
because
like to
they
go?
produce butterflies for sparks. Every 10th butterfly is going to be an extra life butterfly. So that means no matter how hurt Sparks is, he can be green, he can be gone, he will go back to yellow, or like fully charged, you know, full heal. Beastmakers is the hardest world, for sure. Like, you tend to take damage in Beastmakers that is accidental, you know. And so sometimes you really need a full heal. You're kind of struggling, you really need Sparks to keep you going. And so we try to plan it out so that we get this 10th fodder somewhere in Beastmakers. Because it just might save your life. Usually, it's in Misty Bog or Treetops that we really need Sparks. So I've been hitting fodder throughout the run that I don't always need. You know, sometimes I'll hit a chicken or whatever when I'm still at yellow Sparks, just to get that count closer to 10. And we'll see where our extra life pops for this run. The cycling looks good in the background here, so I just got rid of that dragon immediately. Pretty common to get hit by that guy, that's fine. But you can see that part of those cycles involve taking damage. Technically, it's possible to get through there without taking damage, but it's rare. So we're already, you know, straight from yellow back to green. We could really use that extra life. So Misty Bog, here we are at the only level that we are ever going to enter and not complete. I wanted to pop the camera back to Morty there for a second. So Misty Bog is kind of shaped like a Y, pretty awkward. So we're gonna go in, essentially do one half of it, and then go back out, finish the rest of the game, and then come back at the very end and do the other half of Misty Bog. So we'll end in Misty. And this speedrun actually ends in what is inarguably the hardest room of the game. So that's exciting, and you have that to look forward to. There are 10 enemies in an extremely cramped space. And you're really far away from a dragon, so it's really a very risky place to end a speedrun. I mean, sure, you could do it the other way around so that you end it here in a much safer place, but style points. Gotta do it for the swag. So we're hopping into treetops here. We'll see if this chicken or the next one gives me my extra life. There it is. So we were pretty close. Got that heal when we needed it. If you played Spyro, either this version or the PS1 version, casually, you probably remember treetops. It's basically one big puzzle. There's a dragon named Jed who's way out on a platform all by himself. And the level's based around supercharging, so Spyro runs down these supercharge ramps, and he goes fast. But sometimes, he needs to go extra fast. He needs to hit more than one supercharge in order to get his speed up to make really long jumps. So Treetops is basically a level about hitting every single supercharge in the level by figuring out, you know, the order that you need to go down them and doing a little puzzle. And we're gonna skip that entirely. we're gonna go down this supercharge. I'm gonna tap that building just a little to slow my momentum, and that's gonna let me hop down to the end of the puzzle. And not only do I hop down to the end of the puzzle, so I don't have to do all of that series of supercharges, but it also lets me supercharge for long enough that it counts as having hit more than one supercharge. If you maintain a supercharge for a long time, Spyro gets faster. So by tapping that building a little bit and slowing down, that actually speeds us up later on and lets us make that really long jump. I actually saw the same principle in action earlier when I was in Wizard Peak. I slowed myself down off of an enemy, and so I still had supercharge, but I was going very, very slowly, and I was hopping upstairs. So this game, I don't know, just kind of thinks that every now and then if you can hook yourself on the environment, you can mess with your supercharge a little bit. And we are going to mess with supercharge one more time. You can see that supercharge ramps have arrows that point, you know, in what direction you're supposed to be going. But later on in the run, and I say later on, but it's really going to be like 2 minutes, we're actually going to go backwards on a supercharge and still pick it up, because that will let us skip a big part of the level. And going backwards on that supercharge is why I very specifically need this exact controller that I'm playing with. I don't know why my other controllers can't do it. I guess something to do with the dead zones on the left joystick. But you need a really precise controller to be able to pull off that supercharge trick. So off we go. This world is complete. This balloonist would have asked for 50 dragons, which is no problem because we're getting all the dragons. And so we're entering what is essentially the final world. Technically, Dreamweavers is not the last world, but if you recall, we glitched ourselves into Nasty's world. So that world is done, and Dreamweavers is all that's left. Dreamweaver's worlds are, Dreamweaver's levels, I should say, are long. That is why most speedruns will not do them. They just take a long time to get from the beginning to the end. But that also means they have a lot of dragons in them. So we're gonna get a ton of dragons all at once in this world. You can see we're gonna go straight from 63 to 80. Which is quite a lot of dragons for one world, considering that Nasty's had, what, 6? Alright, into Haunted Towers. And one thing that is important for you to understand is that Spyro can't flame metal unless he gets a smooch from his lady friend over here, which gets him all fired up, and now his flame is hot enough to flame metal and destroy it. That's great because you're not going to really be able to see it, but there's a metal door up here, right here, that I'm going to be able to flame through. And then we'll grab the dragon afterwards to checkpoint so that that door is always flamed open. And now we're going to do that double back on a supercharge. The supercharge is going to mandate that I go forward, and I'm going to say, how about I don't go, and try to go backwards. Awesome. First try. So that let us skip the entire level, basically. This big long supercharge puzzle, you have to break a ton of doors, or you can just do the thing I did, and then you end up at the end of the level, right next to these 2 dragons. So that genuinely saves multiple minutes of gameplay. It's a really great trick if you have the practice to get it to work. I would argue that behind doing the balloonist skip glitch, that's definitely the hardest thing to learn, is that double back on the supercharge. Very satisfying to do, though. Nine hundred gems. Getting close. I like to try to finish 80 dragons under 1,000 gems. Just for funsies, it doesn't matter. I don't think we're quite gonna swing it. But always fun to throw on extra goals like that. So these little guys with the lanterns are called fools. When their lantern is on, the enemies are going to be tiny and easy to take care of. When their lantern is off, they're going to turn into these big monstrosities. Oh boy. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to make it so that, you know, we don't have to deal with the big boys.
Thank you for releasing me.
So you can see that's another example of using the cycling and not spending in-game time when a dragon is playing to make things more favorable to me. I still messed up, still got maunched by that big red boy, but that was more a slip-up on my part than the cycling. You'll also see that I'm just straight up ramming Spyro's face right into these stairs, right? Whenever I climb things. And the reason for that is just because bonking is the fastest way to climb. When Spyro runs into something and he can't step on top of it because you're too low, he'll run his face into it and then he'll drop. And when he drops, before he hits the ground, you're actually able to jump again. So bonking and jumping in midair once you fall is faster than just climbing the stairs one by one like you're supposed to. And so that's why we bonk. Poor Spyro. This here is my favorite dragon. He's always been my favorite dragon, even since the PlayStation 1 version. I'll give you just a peek because I love his design. He just looks really cool. When I was a kid, and I'm talking like, you know, 7 or whatever, I thought he was like super metal, like super edgy, because the thing that he says is expect the unexpected and prepare for what is not there. And 7-year-old me thought that was just like the deepest thing ever. So he was totally my favorite dragon for that reason, and now he's like just my favorite dragon because he looks really cool. We are very nearly at the end here. We're coming in on the final 10 dragons that we're gonna need. Gotta grab these fairies. It is, like, technically possible Spyro could get enough height to jump across there, but there is actually an invisible wall until these fairies appear, so we do have to wait for them to start that whirlwind up for us. Grab a couple more fairies. And up ahead we got one more supercharge thing that we can do. We're gonna charge through a wall. It only really like appears to exist. It has the visual, you know, texture around it, but it doesn't have a hitbox. So we're gonna actually be able to charge straight through it. And hopefully we will still maintain enough height to finish this jump. There we go through that wall. And off to the end of the level. Just a couple more dragons. Fun fact, in the Reignited version here, you can actually do things during these loading screens. You see I can make Spyro do fun stuff. Nice little quirk that they added. I like it. This game feels like such a labor of love for all the people who made it. Alright, so Forza Como, chilling over here all by himself, is now free. And then we're heading into Jacques. He is the only boss in Spyro that has 2 dragons in his level because his level is so challenging. And it is true, his level is pretty challenging platforming-wise. So again, we're going to be hitting some of those pools. Instead of lanterns, this time they're going to be timers. So as soon as we flame them, they're going to start a timer. And that's gonna lower or raise platforms depending on which fools we're hitting. You'll see what I mean here when I hit this one. Pop him and then he raises the platform. Which is why I'm going out of my way to hit that one. Green Sparks is alright. I'm thinking ahead to Misty Bog and that hardest room in the game. And coming into that with Green Sparks is not necessarily what I'd like, but you know, we're gonna rock it. It's gonna be great. It's definitely possible not to get hit in that room, so we should be, you know, able to deal with it anyway. And I grabbed that extra butterfly just to be safe. Alright, so 2 dragons left, I hope, or else I've made a mistake. And they're both going to be in Misty Bog. We're going to go the other route that we didn't take the first time. We're just going to blast through here as fast as we can. Blue Sparks is alright for this death room. And timing for this run is going to stop here in just a minute, so let's give you a heads up for that. The 80th dragon is after this very difficult room, so timing is going to stop as soon as I pull up the menu. I'll call time for you here. Oh, they were lined up so nice! We made it through no damage! Alright, so timing is going to stop now. Oh, so close. That's a really good time. You can see 2038 on the top right-hand corner. That's the in-game time. The non-menuing world record for this category is 2036. So that is superbly close, and that's pretty dope. I'm real happy with that.